That's what's up, bro. Hey, y'all have a good trip home, man. A safe trip or whatever. Hey, you cool to drive? Everything cool? You good? You need a lift? You need a ride? All right, that's what's up, man. Let me know when you get home, my dog. I mean, what you mean, baby? Who keeps calling? I don't know. The phone just keeps ringing. I don't know who it is calling me. I don't answer numbers that I don't recognize, man. You tripping like this because I ain't answering the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning? You tripping? Okay, I'ma answer it, okay? Just calm down, I'ma answer. Just to show you, ain't no girls calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hello? Hello? What? Collect call from the jail. What? Somebody's calling me collect, baby, from the jail. What up, bro? Rico? Huh? Ho. What? You charged with DUI? But you didn't. Bruh, you on some other, man. Y'all got to handle that, man. I ain't got nothing to do with that, bro. Yo, once again it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kids TV in the house like kitchen sinks. You heard me? I'm in such a great mood, as I typically am. But I'm in a especially great mood because my Dallas Cowboys, we came, pause, and we conquered. We did what we were supposed to do. So I just like to say shout out to all the Dallas Cowboy fans. But I want to give a special shout out to all the Dallas Cowboy haters. Hi, haters. But now that we got that out of the way, I'm sitting back reflecting, as I so often do. I'm thinking about all the years that I spent on them penitentiary yards. Walking in penitentiary tracks. Walking the penitentiary loops. That's what they call it. Let's spin a loop. And I'm seeing all the different individuals that really, really regret the things that they've done. Wishing that they could somehow turn back the hands of time to redo that moment that landed them 40 and 50 and 60 years in the penitentiary. So when people say, I don't regret anything that I've done, if I had an opportunity to do it all over again, I would. I don't believe it. In a lot of cases, I don't believe that. Now, before we get into this afternoon's story, if you will, understand that I'm the self-proclaimed Mr. 30 Minutes or Better. Meaning that anytime I bring you a story, it's guaranteed to be 30 minutes or longer. So if you're on your way to work, you're at work, you don't feel like being there, your coworkers are just talking your head off, you're on your way home from work, you need to laugh, you need to cry, you need to lay down and take a nap. Perhaps you're trying to go sleep at night, depending on what time it may be when you listen or view this video. Or you're just in the mood for a good old-fashioned true, keyword true, penitentiary / real life experience / story. This is the channel for you. If you like the 10, 12, 15-minute videos, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But at Real Kids TV, this is what we about. This is what this is about. So with all that being said, there is a message. As I mentioned, I spent numerous amount of time walking those penitentiary tracks, just talking, just drinking our triples, man. Triples in the penitentiary, man, is, y'all let me know in the comments if you all ever, have a triple. Well, Kens, what's a triple? A triple is coffee, sugar, and creamer. That's a triple in penitentiary. Major. So you're doing major things in the penitentiary if you're drinking triples. Not to say that anybody can't drink triples, but it's just the thing to drink. And you're reflecting and you're talking about, man, when I get out or when I was out or if I was out, I would do this, I would do that. And it's like, wow, man. So many people wishing that they could turn back the hands of time. So many people would literally be willing to give their left arm, right arm, just to have another opportunity at life. Two individuals that I know personally. You got Rico and you got Quan. You got Rico, you got Quan. They was crew. They were best friends. I'm talking about just always together, coming up. Just they was, you seen one, you seen both of them. Went to school, both played sports. just were good kids, coming up, just good kids. After high school, people typically kind of go in their own directions at some point, after high school. You got Rico. He went on to go to school, ended up playing basketball for like 2 years at a small school, small college, but nevertheless, he hooped, he played, he could ball. Then you got Quan. Quan went to school for about a semester. Things didn't work out, so, he's into the real world. Two of them kind of separated. They were still cool. They would still hook up from time to time. But as I mentioned, you got one that's in college. Then you have another one that's living, real life experiences or what have you. When you start to have kids and he's having to work a couple jobs. And so they weren't able to really correspond as often. Later on in life, I'd say a couple more years later, maybe about a year and a half later, Quan was still doing what he was doing, but then you had Rico. He had stopped going to school. So now Rico's into the real world. Two of them become, they hook back up and they get to talking and kicking it and, having fun and, everything. It was like things had never changed. Rico wasn't a criminal type. Neither one of them were coming up. But Rico, once he stopped going to school, what have you, he got him a job and, he had a girlfriend that he had been with for years. So, he was pretty much of a homebody. He started to have children just as well. But he got Quan is out here in these streets, man. Now, he's not out here thugging. He ain't out here robbing and shooting. But, he puts in his work. He does what he does. Two of them was cool, man. Rico ended up getting into a little situation to where he owed child support. Now, in the state of Kentucky, what they do is, if you get $1,000 behind, they're going to hit you with being a, what do you call it, a flagrant non-support. And they're going to hit you with a felony. Yes, they're going to put an arrest warrant out on you. They'll come and arrest you. You're going to go to jail, felony non-support. And basically, you're going to become a convicted felon because you're over $1,000 as far as your rearage of what you owe in child support. It's crazy, but that's just how it works here. Especially back then. I don't know if they've changed the laws, the rules, or what have you now, but back then, that's just what it was. Shout out to all my truck drivers, too. Shout out to everybody that's working them long shifts, 12-hour shifts, 8, 9, 10, 16-hour shifts. Shout out to all of y'all. So many of you all tell me, your videos, man, they really, really help me to get through my shifts, especially the truck drivers. So that's why I always show special love to the truck drivers because, I understand that those trips are long. And sometimes at nighttime, you're trying to, get through or what have you, and you need something to keep you up. You got to stop and get you a triple. You got to keep those windows down, man. So I salute to all the truck drivers that support the channel. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. Now, when you're all putting, be careful though how you're actually commenting, if you will. A couple, hey Kens, man, you really helped me, man. I had a big load you helped me get off. Infinite pause. There's no amount of pause. I could say 100 times pause. No, I didn't help you get your load off. Okay, so we gotta clear that up. We got to clear that up. There's other ways to say things. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, I just had to throw that in on a side note. So getting back to the subject at hand. Quan was doing his thing in the streets, but he was still, he wasn't a gorilla out there. He was, he would handle his business or what have you. But, he kept it within, I guess, reasonably, if you can say. If you're out in the streets, I guess he was reasonably... a reasonable street dude. Ended up catching a case. Ultimately, that's, in the streets, inevitably, that's going to happen. It's only inevitable. That's going to happen at some point. Quan catches a case. First time felon. Gets caught up for like trafficking. He was selling like weed. Just large sums of weed. Isn't that ironic? In a lot of states, it's legal now. But it's only legal if you go to the dispensaries and things of that nature. They can do it, but we can't. It's always been that way. But nevertheless, that's just what it was. They give him 5 years. but it's probated for 5 years. They call it 5 for 5. Meaning that you're going to stay on probation for 5 years. If you mess up and they send you to prison, you're going to go and do 5 years. 5 for 5. One of the worst plea deals to ever take. And so, Quan's out, he's on probation or what have you. And he's doing everything. He's still dibbling and dabbling. I'm not going to lie. He's still, but he's working, staying out of the way, staying out of trouble. And then you got Rico over here. Rico's, going through his little situation with child support or whatever. He done got way behind. And Rico was just one of those type of individuals to where I'm not putting the people in my business. I'm going to take care of my kids. Rico had 3 sons. And they were all like stepladders. Like, 7, 5, and 4. And so Rico, I'm going to take care of my sons, but I'm not putting the man in my business. I'm not putting the state in my business. So instead of paying the child support that he should have paid, he remained a little irritated, to say the least, with, the mother of his children. And he was just like, you know what, I'm not giving you child support. My kids need something, I'm going to send it, or I'm going to do it or whatever, but I'm not paying no child support. So it all caught up with it. He's over $1,000, way over $1,000. They come, they arrest him. He makes bond. The bond that he makes goes directly to the kid's mother. He ends up pleading guilty for flagrant non-support. So now he has 3 years hanging over his head, meaning that if he messes up and doesn't complete probation within, that 5-year span, guess what? He's going to prison for 3 years over child support. And he's a convicted felon. That's wild. That's how it works. So the two of them, they remain friends. They remain kicking it or what have you. Now, Rico had a situation to where he would always lose his license. For whatever reason, he never could maintain a driver's license. He would just lose his license. So here it is. Quan is over here doing what he's supposed to do as far as following the stipulations, a lot of the stipulations of his probation. You got Rico that don't get into any trouble, but he's not following the stipulations of his probation because he's continuously not paying the child support that he's court ordered to pay. It wasn't even an astronomical amount. For 3 kids, I want to say they had him paying $500 a month. But it's 3 kids. $500 a month is not a lot of money. I don't care if you got to go out and work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, man. You support and you take care of your kids. But again, he did for his kids. He just didn't do it the proper way as far as, I'm not even going to say the proper way. He didn't do it the state's way, the Commonwealth's way. See, when they tell you to make them payments through them and you don't do it, everything else outside of that, guess what? It's a gift. So it's like you never even made the payments. Time goes by. He knows that the amount that he's behind is mounting up. It's mounting up. So he stops to go see his probation officer. Yeah, he had an actual probation officer for child support. 1 year turns into 2 years. 2 years turns into 3 years. 3 years turns into 5 years. Next thing you know, it's 7, 8 years. He hasn't been to see his probation officer. He hasn't made 1 child support payment through the Commonwealth. He understands that there's a warrant out for his arrest. He understands that when he finally gets caught up, he's going to have to go and serve 3 years. Now, in Kentucky, 3 years is not 3 years. You're going to go for parole after about 4 or 5 months. Even if they don't give you parole with programs and good time, on a 3-year sentence, you can be back home in a year. But who wants to go and do a year? He had never done any time. I think he had done maybe 60 days at best, maybe 45 days at best for child support. He had never really done any time. So, I have to really be careful because I catch myself saying sometimes like, oh man, he could have just went and did that little year. A year is not little. 30 days is not little. A week is not little. Any time in jail that's away from your family is not considered a small amount of time. Yeah, we may look at it as small amount of time, but no, that's not small time. Not to me, it's not. And I'm an individual that served over 11 calendars in the Kentucky Department of Corrections. Nothing cool about that whatsoever. And so, as the years mount up and he's not going to see, his probation officer, as I mentioned, there's a warrant for his arrest. So now everything changes. He can't really work a job, which he ain't really want to work no job anyway. So he's having to just get it how he lives. Side hustles, getting paid under the table, what have you. The one great thing that he had going for him is he had a beautiful wife that stood by his side, and she was in his corner. So she made sure, she made good money. So she made sure everything was good at home. But it's like it could be much better if you could contribute to the household a lot more. But his reason and his excuse, I can't never really go get a job because the people, my social security number, they're going to come to my job one day, and I get that. He didn't want to go and do, the 3 years or what have you, get it over with. So he just went on a run for a lot of years. One of the disadvantages of being on the run is if you get pulled over driving, then what? Can't really, you have a warrant, so there's nothing that you can really do. So he would oftentimes allow his wife to drive. Every once in a while, he would drive. But when they were together, she would drive. But he still had things that he needed to go handle and do or what have you. So he would drive and just hope and pray that he never got pulled over. Well, this particular day, he's riding. Police officer gets behind him. He see those infinite blue lights that we all hate to see. He pulls over. He's panicking in his mind, but what can you do? I'm not going to outrun him, so he pulls over. Once he pulls over, know why I pulled you over? License, registration, insurance, all of these things. He gives him the registration. He gives him the insurance. Officer, I must not have my license. I had it. I don't know where it said. Officer, he's looking around or what have you. Officer, I have a license, but I don't have it on me. What's your name? He gives him a name. What's your social? He gives him a social. Problem is, there's one problem. Officer says, you been drinking? Are you impaired? Have you been smoking? Are you under the influence in any manner? No, sir, officer. Sure not. I don't. Well, I do smell marijuana in your vehicle. I don't know, officer. I'm not. Pull him out of the car. Somehow, I guess they bring the dogs in. They search in the car. They find weed. They give him the breathalyzer. He fails the breathalyzer. Had a couple drinks, but he's not just riding around just obnoxiously drunk or anything. But I think the limit is 0.08. He blows like a 0.084, 0.083, something like that. So he's barely over the limit. They take him to jail. They taking him to jail, but not under Rico. See, if he tells them that he's Rico, he's gone. He tells them his name is Quan. His best partner, Quan. Now, Quan was aware that Rico would use his name from time to time when he got pulled over. Quan was just like, hey, bro, just don't get me no tickets or anything. Nothing major. If it's a little ticket or something like that, I ain't even worried about that. But just don't get me into anything major. So it's not like he stole, Quan's information. They're taking him to jail. They're reluctant to believe that he's really Rico anyway. But that's who he says he is. That's who he is. He gets to jail. Now, and I will say this, in all fairness, I will say this. When he told the police who he was, he didn't understand and realize that they were going to go through the motions, that they were going to take him out of the car and give him a breathalyzer and all of these things. As I mentioned, he had a couple drinks, but he wasn't just sitting around just, pissy drunk or anything of that magnitude. Now he's panicking. What am I going to do, man? I'm going to go to jail. Should I just tell him that I am who I am? But if I tell him my real name, I got this warrant out on me. And this is in a totally different county. I'm not going to go home for a minute. If I can just leave the jail tonight, so this is what I'll do. I'll just tell him I'm Quan. Then I'll come back later on and tell him that I took Quan's identification and what have you. But if I can just get out tonight, that's what he does. Gives him Quan's information. Although Quan was a convicted felon, Quan had only had, one previous charge, and it didn't have anything to do with as far as like driving, DUIs, and things of that nature. So they reduced the bond. There's no bail bondsmen here. There's no 10%, but they reduced his bond. There's 10%, but it's not an automatic 10%. So if your bond is $3,000, your bond is $3,000, unless the judge says, "I'll give you a 10% bond," which would be $300. He gets the bond reduction. I forget what it was. It was something $120, $150 to get out. So now he gets out. But again, he gets out under Quan's name. This is Rico. He has court in about a week. Once again, in his mind, he's okay. I'm gonna just let him know this is what this is. I don't know how I'm gonna tell him, but I'm gonna tell him, "Hey, bro, I ended up getting caught up, man. We can go to court. We clear all of this up, and I apologize, man. This is what happened. I didn't know that they were gonna give me a breathalyzer. It was just a big old mix-up, a mistake, and I'm gonna clear it up." In his mind, that's what he envisioned himself saying to Quan. Problem is, the time came to go to court. He never said anything. He ends up going to court. He debated even going to court, but he's like, nah, because if I don't go to court, then they're going to have a warrant out on Quan. Goes to court, ends up pleading guilty. It's a mega fine. I'm talking about like for DUIs and driving on under the influence and court costs and everything. That's at least $1,000. And this is a long time ago. This was years ago. So now he has this $1,000 fine. He's pled guilty to a DUI under somebody else's information. Two of them continue to talk from time to time, but he's kind of distanced himself from Quan because ultimately he knows what's going to happen. He knows that Quan is going to, find this out. Quan's in the house one day. Things ain't got tight. Job's not really giving him too many hours like he was getting. He's working in the food industry. He's washing dishes, not making a lot of money, but he's able to, maintain. He's still doing his thing, on the side, but he's just kind of watching who he deals with, and it's on the low. He's in the living room one day. He hears a loud knock at the door. He's thinking that it's one of his partners. It's an unexpected knock. He opens up the door. It's a PO with a couple officers. What they doing here? They never come to my house. They come in. Unfortunately, Quan got caught slipping. He had just went and copped. He had just went to the weed man, so he had, he had about a pound. He was breaking it down or whatever, bagging it up, got the scales out. Again, he's thinking that is his partner at the door because he was expecting, his partner to come through. It's a PO. Oh, what do we have here, Mr. Quan? They come in, lock him up. Now, the reason that they originally came was because he had a warrant out for his arrest. He had a warrant out for his arrest because when you're on probation, if you catch another charge and you plead guilty, actually, when you catch a charge, you're supposed to let your PO know within 72 hours. They typically know. They get a fax. Back then, you're still getting faxes. They're going to receive a fax that, hey, your client or what have you has been arrested or even given a citation. He never alerted his PO. So there was a direct violation of his probation. Problem is, how am I going to alert my PO when I don't even know about this whole situation with the DUI? So now he has that in addition to this pound and a half, actually, that they done found on the table. So now it's trafficking in marijuana for the second time. Now you're going to face an habitual offender sentence just as well. Trafficking in the marijuana is going to carry 1 to 5. But then being that this was your second time within, a 5-year time frame, now you're facing an additional 5 to 10. The PO never would have came to the house if it wasn't for this warrant that he had on him for not telling the PO about this DUI. He doesn't know what's going on. Quan, when he gets to jail, he's not even aware of, he's like, what? He goes to court, he has to face the judge. Probation violation. Your Honor, he tells his attorney, Your Honor, I didn't get a DUI. I don't know anything about a DUI. Which says that on such and such date you got this DUI, you pled guilty, you came back to court 3 or 4 different times. I never got a DUI. I haven't even been, but it's hard for them to really believe him because, most people's going to be like, that wasn't me. Luckily, he had a little bit of money or what have you to get a paid attorney. Give me $500 more, I'll look into this matter. Attorneys, they're going to rip you off, man. Give me $500 more, and this was in. Now they're going to say, man, give me $2,500 more, $1,500 more, and I can look it up for you. They look it up, they end up getting the picture. When they get the picture, the mug shot, his attorney, obviously, this is not you. Do you know this individual? Nah, I don't know this individual. Now, clearly he knows that it's Rico. I don't know this individual. Only thing I know is not me. This is not me. So his attorney's doing the paperwork or what have you. So now he's still in jail. They're not allowing him to get out because he has a probation violation hold on him. He's going back and forth to the other jail that's in a different county. They're trying to get that whole thing cleared up. Clearly, the judge remembers, everybody remembers, no, this is not this individual. So now he gets that situation, but that takes months. It's not like you just go to court and they say, you know what, this wasn't you, this was a big mistake, and they let you go. No, it doesn't work that way. So they get that cleared up. He's in jail, he's furious, he's not hearing anything from Rico whatsoever, but he knows that it's Rico, obviously. His lawyers file a motion to have the trafficking charge dismissed based on the fact that if this never would have happened, you see what I'm saying? If this whole occurrence never would have happened with Rico, they never would have come to my house, thus for finding what they found. Wasn't buying it. Motion denied. Motion denied. He ends up getting sent off to prison. Once he gets sent to prison, like I said, he got like 5 years to serve. He's furious because he feels as though he's in prison for no reason. Although you had £1.50 pounds on your table, they never would have, just how, people think, they never would have found that if that old bitch ass nigga didn't do what he did. He's reaching out. He can't get a hold of Rico. Quan got some people. Now he ain't got no, he got some people that, half his family is from here. He's kin to a lot of people. He tells his people about it. One night Rico's out. He didn't really go to clubs like that, but one night Rico's out at a bar, hanging out. He's with his wife. Bro, is that dude right there? Is that Rico? Yeah, it's him, man. Yeah, that's the one that got the homie. That's the one that got Cuz locked up. Cuz is in the pen right now doing a bid over him. As I mentioned, he's there with his wife. About 4 of them run up on him. Beat him down. I'm talking about beat him down. They didn't wait. They waited until he left the club. They didn't do it inside the club. They waited until he left the club. As they're walking back, Rico and his wife, they're walking back to the car. They have no earthly clue that these dudes, Quan's people, is waiting. They beat him. I'm talking about they beat him, man. They stomp him. I'm talking about a penitentiary beating where he's all the way out and they still just... Only thing that saved him. Only thing that I feel as though saved him. They were right there by the car. The wife did only thing that she knew to do. Jumped in the car and flashed the brights on him and started blowing the horn. Honking the horn. Which would in turn draw attention. Kicked him a couple more times. You lucky. And they ran off. Dude was messed around. I'm talking about Rico, man, looked like the Elephant Man. You know what I mean? He had knots all over his head, man, but busted up, was bleeding, ribs ended up getting broken. Like, they ER'd him. He had to go to the ER. And he's sitting in the hospital a few days over that. Ends up coming home. Heals up, weeks, months, however long it takes to heal up. Now he's mad. Now he has a problem. Again, Rico wasn't no street dude, but he wasn't no punk by any stretch of the imagination. And he had get back problems. You kill my dog, guess what? I'm going to unalive your cat. Now he knew what this was about because they talking to him. You ever, my cousin, and so they knew what this, Rico knew what this was about. So instead of just letting it go, nah, I'm not letting that go. I'm not letting that go whatsoever. I'm going to get him. All the while, Quan is still in prison. I'm definitely going to get him, man. A few months later, it's probably about 6 months later, Rico's in the club one night. This time he's not in the club. He's actually in the club. See, before they were like at a bar. He's in the club. He got a couple of his partners with him. Now, he's not going out as far as, on any sort of get back or trying to, do anything to anybody. But he's conscientious of what happened. These dudes stomped him all the way out, man. So he's ready to get his get back. He's in the club with his people. DJ, he's jumping. They play the one song or one of the songs that back then you just did not play in the club, man. Especially like the hood clubs, the black clubs or whatever. You didn't do it. You bout it? I'm bout it. If you bout it, say you bout it. I represent. Where them killers at? They played that I'm Bout It by Master P. Now, for you all that, are not privy to, you're not familiar with hip-hop and Master P, you can Google him, look him up. That was one of the biggest songs that he ever came out with. I'm Bout It. But when you play I'm Bout It in a club, in a hood club like that, you understand that this whole thing could quickly go left. Situation happened. He sees one of the dudes that he knows that got him, but he's not. He feels as though it's one of the dudes, but he's not 100% sure. So he's looking at the dudes or whatever. He's jumping around. He's dancing, whatever. Swept under the rug. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happened this particular night, but it definitely could have hit the fan. It just didn't because he wasn't 100% accurate. He wasn't 100% sure that this was the person, and he didn't want to, inflict any harm on the wrong person. Some more time goes by. Now that this time, Quan is out. Quan has made parole. He's out. As I mentioned, Rico, he went out, but he didn't go out too often. So when I'm saying, okay, 3 months passed, 4 months, 6 months, time has passed, it's because, he would only go out every blue moon. They had a club down here. And I don't want to say the name because I don't want to implicate anybody else. But it was a hood club down there. One of the most hood, deep in the ghetto. I'm there. Master P and the No Limit Soldiers is performing at this club. This was before P really just blew up and became like a commercial artist. This is when P was an underground kind of, independent artist or what have you. He came in the city that day. He hung out all day long. Went to the radio station. Was in the hood shooting dice or whatever. Just was kicking it with the people. He's at the club that night. Little bitty hole in the wall club. He's on the stage. He's performing his, his songs or what have you. And I'm Bout It comes on. When you hear the song, so once again, if you are not familiar, Google the song I'm Bout It and you'll see exactly what I'm speaking of as far as the intro and, how it comes on or what have you. And I'm Bout It comes on. Everybody in the club is hyped. Rico's there. Quan's there with his partners. Obviously, they see each other. Nobody backs down, so it's going to be what it's going to be. Everybody knows it's up. It's only a matter of time. This little bitty club, y'all on this side, they on this side. But at any given moment, it's going to pop off. I'm Bout It comes on. That wasn't the first song that he did. I'm Bout It comes on. Hit the fan. I'm not going to say who did what. Only thing you know is pop, 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 pop. You just seen sparks just flying. But you could tell that it was kind of like towards the ceiling. Everybody's ducking, jumping around or whatever, you know, trying to get out of the place, move around, hide behind tables, chairs, or whatever. They getting at each other. Rico got to get his get back. He got to get back at Quan for the beatdown that he took. But in all actuality, Rico was dead wrong for what he did to Quan. He was nice enough to allow you to use his information. This is how you do me. This is what you do to me. Shootout in the club. There's other individuals that got involved, you know, that didn't even have anything to do with it. The shootout in a little bitty club. A couple people ended up getting hit, unfortunately. Thank goodness nobody was unalive. Once they went back through and, you know, the police came in and they did the surveillance and they did the research or what have you, that, you know, as far as the investigation, rather, they didn't have any cameras in the club. This was way back when. So the technology was nowhere near the way that it is now. Nobody was really saying anything who was doing the popping. We all seen who was doing the popping. And that's just one of those situations to where everybody made it out. As I mentioned, a couple people unfortunately did get hit, but everybody made it out. Everybody lived to wake up the next day. That's why you always see Master P in this song, when he's doing the song I'm About It, you know, he always, because they ended up doing a remix, he always puts Lexington, Kentucky in it. He always puts Lexington, Kentucky in it because of the situation that happened that night. Now, he had been there prior to that just as well, so it wasn't his first time there. But I'm thinking like, man, I could have easily been hit. The people that I with, anybody that was in there could have easily been hit because they was just letting them fly, man. And it was a small club, man. It was one of those things that fortunately over the years just kind of died down. The two of them just kind of, you know, it wasn't that it died down initially. They just never really seen each other. Quan was out. Quan got out. He stayed out. Rico eventually ended up getting caught up. Once he got caught up, he had to end up, you know, going to do his little year or what have you. Not little, so let's take that back. Let's rewind that. I do the manual rewind because I don't feel like editing sometimes. Rico ended up having to go back and serve about a year on the 3-year sentence. So by the time the years had passed, he came back home. He had gotten that out of the way. Was able to get his own driver's license, and, you know, this was many years later. The two of them just never really ran into, never bumped heads. Eventually, they ended up, you know, seeing each other. See, there's a saying. Two mountains may never meet, but two men will. And they ended up seeing each other. They talked it out. They shook hands. They dapped each other up, bro. Man, we was on some other back then, bro. I apologize for, you know, the situation at hand, getting you, you know, this record, getting you caught up, getting you. So, you know, the two of them worked it out, but oftentimes street beef don't typically end that way. Street beef typically ends with somebody going to jail, somebody being in that casket, or somebody being in a wheelchair, or somebody being severely messed around. So I admire the two, that they were able to get together, and although it wasn't planned, it was just kind of like one of those things. It had been, you know, 10, 11, 12 years at this point. You know, let me let that go, man. Ain't no sense of, you know, sitting around mad at each other, sitting around trying to, you know, I don't want to do you nothing. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want, you know, at the time, yeah, I did. But now, man, we grown. We got kids. We got more kids. It's time now to really just sit down and just talk about this and just get it out of the way. And that's what they were able to do. A lot of these kids, a lot of these young people, and it's not always the young people, because you got 40-year-olds that's out here acting like they 16, 17, 18. If they had the opportunity, when we walk in those loops in the penitentiary on them 80-degree days, 85, 90-degree days, on the 20, 30-degree days, and we walk in them loops, and we talking about, man, if I could have just handled this situation differently, man. If I could have just not pulled my strap out, man, and went to war. If I could have just, oh, man, what have I done? But what can you do? You already got the 50. You got 50 years now. Baby's mama, she been gone. You haven't heard from your kids, haven't had an opportunity to speak from them. Your mother's passed away. Grandparents been gone. Your father never really was in your life. Your partners, they blowing in the wind. So you just find yourself in the penitentiary all by yourself. Nobody to turn to. Nobody to vent to. Nobody to pick up. You know, when you call somebody, there's nothing greater than when you call somebody and they accept on the other end of that line. 50 years, man. 40 years, 30 years. And you have to do 85% of that time. Think about that. Think about that before you pull that thing out. And you get to spraying or whatever. That happened in this situation. Just luckily, nobody was unalived once again. But you still had 2 people hit. You still had 2 innocent people that had nothing to do with you all's situation whatsoever that had to suffer. They had to endure the pain and the going to the hospital. And, you know, they had to endure that because of you all's foolish and selfish ways and actions. Ultimately, neither one of you all went to the penitentiary over that. Like I said, Quan stayed out. And Rico ended up going for like a year, like to a county jail, something like that, to serve his time. But you dodged a major bullet. And what's so crazy? This is what's so crazy. Quan completely turned his life around. He gave his life to the Lord. And that's who he serves now. He doesn't even live in the States anymore. Well, in this state. He went to a totally different state, relocated, got married, had more kids, gave his life to the Lord, is in church every week, and is really living right. Working and just living right. Rico's cool. He's still married, still has the same woman that held him down the entire time. He has grandkids, you know, he doesn't even go out or anything anymore. So everything ended up working out in this particular situation. I guess you can say it worked out. In a sense, it worked out. But really, when you think about it, I just kind of contradicted myself because it didn't. Because you still had 2 individuals that ended up getting hurt. But I guess the major scheme of things is better than having 2 individuals that ended up being unalive, man. You kids listening to this music, you young ladies listening to Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B and all of these, you know, Sexy Red and, you know, some of the other female hip-hop artists, understand that this is entertainment, this is music. See, when I was coming up and we listened to Master P and Mr. Ice Cream Man and Make Crack Like This, it was a song, it was, you know, we jumped, we danced to it, we, you know, but we didn't necessarily, we knew that this is not what you go out here and do. Now, you still have some people that did that. But me, myself, I wasn't going out here, you know, trying to do what I heard Master P and the No Limit Soldiers say or sing in a song. So you all have to be able to identify that this is simply entertainment. It's stupid, it's foolish, but hey, I'm sure that the older people when I was younger felt as though the things that we listened to was stupid and it was foolish. Don't throw your life away. They talk about popping perks and sipping lean and it's music. Half they don't even do that. A lot of them don't even do that. People are ODing, man. Rich homie Quan, he's a rapper for you all that don't know. You know, out of Atlanta, I believe. He just passed away. Now they saying that it was due to an overdose. I don't know. But I'm just simply saying the things that you're taking, you don't even know what you're taking. You don't even know what it's laced with. This fentanyl is knocking people off every day. Do the right thing, man. Stay out of them streets. Because eventually, them streets will win, man. Streets is undefeated. Facts. Big facts. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you all like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Real Kens. You about it? You about it? I represent. It's 1990 Skrilla.